My friend Jason scores marijuana as he has pretty good contacts. We used to meet and smoke up once a week in the woods behind my house. It was a Friday night around 11ish. We were really having a good time with a freshly rolled joint. I was taking my second hit when I heard footsteps close by. We quickly jumped behind a tree to hide ourselves. The footsteps were approaching. We made sure we were in a good dark enough space not to be seen by anyone. I hid behind Jason and we started peeking from the tree to check if anyone is around. We saw a woman who could have been in her late 40s carrying a black garbage sack with one hand and a shovel in the other. It was very creepy and disturbing to find a woman late at night in the woods. Jason and I waited, holding our breaths to see what's going to happen next. She stopped a few yards from us, close enough for us to see her. As expected, she started digging with the shovel. We were pretty confused and terrified at the same time by the woman's behavior. The black garbage bag was lying next to her. It was big enough to carry an 8-year-old kid. I started sweating and shaking, thinking about what's in the bag. She dug out a grave, which was half the size of a person, and reached out for the bag and started to pull out something from it. We saw a long hair at first. We thought it could be a girl. But what came out of that bag sent shivers up my spine. It was a doll with long hair and dressed in red. Jason freaked out. I covered his mouth and whispered to him to remain silent. She looked around as she heard us, but we managed to hide behind the tree. Then she started crying by holding her doll. We didn't know what to do. We couldn't figure out the reason for her strange behavior. For a moment, we thought she could be suffering from a psychological disorder. Eventually, she put the doll in the grave and covered it off. What she did after that made us run for our lives. She literally managed to climb a tree, sat on a branch, and started staring at the grave. We didn't give a second thought. We flew from there in fear and managed to reach the fence. Jason was panting for breath. We decided not to discuss this with our parents and reached our homes. And we never smoked in the woods after that. The very thought of a woman sitting on a tree branch at midnight scares the hell out of me. My son Peter was 8 years old when this incident happened. Peter used to be so artistic and curious about new things. Sometimes he used to get random things from school just out of interest. My wife always used to warn him not to get someone else's belongings. Peter used to sleep talk a lot. Sometimes it used to get pretty loud. We would end up having a few sleepless nights. We sought help from a lot of child psychologists, and many of them told us not to worry about it, and it will soon be gone as Peter grows up. But my wife badly wanted a solution. It was a Friday night, and I got up from bed close to midnight to grab a glass of water, as I felt very thirsty because of all the alcohol I had that night. I was passing by Peter's room when I heard him giggling and whispering loudly. I got into Peter's room to take him to our room so that he could sleep safe and sound with us. I slammed the door and, with Peter in my hand, started walking towards my room when I heard a giggle and whisper coming out of Peter's room again. My heart skipped a beat. All this time I thought it was Peter giggling, but it was someone else living in his room. I didn't dare to check what it was that night and thoroughly searched his room the next morning to find an ugly-looking doll we never bought him before. I burnt it in the backyard and never told this to anyone. Peter started to recover and become normal, but that giggle still haunts me. I was 10 years old when my brother Harry and I had to stay home. As my parents were away for a couple of days, we cooked dinner and watched TV for some time. Harry told me not to disturb him and locked himself in his room, but I knew that he was going to be video chatting with his girlfriend Linda. He brought her home a couple of times before. I had a dog named Max who used to accompany me when Harry was busy. I played with Max for some time in the hall before I went to bed. Max followed me to my room and then slept on the floor. I was very tired that day and fell asleep quickly until I was awakened by Max growling at something. I ignored it for the first time. Then it started again. This time it was even louder. I started to feel a little unsettling now. I flipped on the night light next to my bed and rubbed the sleep out of my eyes to check what's wrong with Max. He was looking at the corner of the room. I couldn't see anything as it was very dark, and the night light wasn't helping. I reached out to grab my flashlight. Then I heard the phone ring. This freaked me out. I quickly grabbed the flashlight and pointed at the corner. It was a man sitting in the corner on the floor, looking at me. I screamed to the peak of my voice for help. The man got up and slowly started walking towards me. I was repeatedly calling Harry for help. Harry was outside my room yelling and trying to open the door, but it was bolted from inside, and Harry started banging it, trying to break in. The man now realized that he has lost control of the situation and pushed himself off the window. I quickly opened the door to let Harry in. We looked through the window. We could see him run away across the street with a smile on his face. Harry also got pretty terrified by this. That night we closed all doors and windows, and Harry slept in my room. Our dad informed the police about the situation the next day. We didn't know if he was caught or not. That corner of my room still frightens me as hell. I keep looking at it till I fall asleep.